So I'm Frank Yosa, CEO of Ketone Aid, and today I'm really excited, our first female interview with Christine Vidaros, and she is a professional cyclocross racer since 2000. So welcome and thanks for trying our drink. Normally we require that people try it on a practice, and you instead tried it on a actual performance, but you said that on an actual race, but you said that race was a small one, so it counted like a practice anyhow, right?
Yeah, it was actually a training race for me. In fact, I opted to race with the elite men instead of the women's category because I wanted to go as hard as I can for as long as I can, and their races tend to be a little bit longer because I really wanted to put it through the test.
Nice, awesome, great. So how did you initially come to hear about us? Twitter or what was it?
Actually, someone on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone might have shared it. Okay, it's always interesting to hear how someone stumbles upon it. What were your expectations as far as yet another supplement claiming? Actually, our slogan is no claims, just results. But what was your expectation about this thing that you'd maybe seen some interviews of people that had said that it worked for them?
Well, I was fascinated. I switched over to a ketogenic diet as of like last week of May. So
Okay.
I think for 3 months now I've had a ketogenic diet and a vegan diet on top of that.
Right.
And so I naturally started looking into everything. I also give talks around the world on sports nutrition.
Okay.
So I was particularly intrigued by what everyone was saying about ketone esters. Everybody goes out, they buy their raspberry ketones, and they think that they're doing something great, and you hear about all these wonderful results. But as I looked more into it, I said, wow, okay, so placebo effect really does work.
Yeah.
I was amazed.
Well, raspberry ketones isn't even remotely. Raspberry ketones doesn't even increase your ketones. Like, I wish that they had used a different word. It's not even in the same remote category. You could eat the entire bottle of raspberry ketones and test your blood ketones, and it wouldn't rise 0.1. Like, it has nothing to do with BHB. So, okay, great. So that was your.
So you tried it, like everyone
excited?
else. I tried raspberry ketones too, and I waited and waited and waited, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
I thought, hey, how did it earn the name ketones? And then I started looking into it. I said, well, if endogenous ketones can, ones that my body's making, can already give me a benefit in so many different areas, then exogenous ketones has to be key. But how do you actually get exogenous ketones that would work into the body? And then I started reading ketone esters as the ideal source, the ideal form to actually benefit.
Right. So there is the ketone. Yeah, there's the ketone salts that are out there, but the problem there is twofold. One is that they're racemic. So there's a left hand and the right hand version, and your body can only use the D version. And then the salt load is so huge that you're limited to 6 to 8 grams per serving of DBHB, which won't move the needle. So what you took, I think, was about 45 grams, if I'm not mistaken. And let's start with your protocol was to first take a bolus of glucose, which, by the way, before I end, I want to give you an update on a keto athlete that actually took it without glucose, so it might actually work. But you stuck with the protocol that we have for non-keto people, which is a bolus of a 1-to-1 ratio of glucose, carbs beforehand, and then 20 minutes later, the ketones. First of all, how did it taste based on what you were expecting and what I warned you?
Yeah, I was really expecting something awful, and I was prepared to drink something awful, thinking, I don't care what it tastes like as long as it works. It could taste like dirt. I really don't care. So I was expecting just something awful, and I drank it. Yeah, I hate to tell you, it really wasn't so awful.
Well, I don't mind hearing that. I just wanted to manage your expectations because, some people have different palates. And I heard you're former military, right? So maybe you're a little bit tougher in that regards.
Oh, I would love to have been former military, but I'm
No?
not so.
Oh, I guess I messed up. I thought you were former military, so I'll edit that
Former
out.
fencer. How about that?
Former what?
Former fencer.
Okay, okay. Um, okay, so
But
you
no,
tried it, drank it,
it was
and then the protocol was to wait 10 minutes and then get back into like a 20-minute warm up and then go up to the line. How did it feel during that 20-minute warm up transition? And then how did it feel at the line?
it was actually I had no expectations. I didn't know what was going to happen. In my warm up before the ketones, there's two really steep, really heavy um, climbs in the fields on ground that just kind of sucks your tires in.
Okay.
Every lap we had to do that. So in my pre-ride, I remember riding up those two climbs thinking, fuck me if I have to do this, 10 times. I'm gonna be dead. I barely made it up the hill in my first pre-ride, thinking this sucks. And then I took it and I didn't think about it. I took the ketones, waited 10 minutes, went back out on the course, and it was pretty quick. I felt a pretty quick result. I remember climbing up the first power climb after I took the ketones and thinking, wow, I'm actually going faster. I looked at my same speed. I looked at everything and I thought I have the same perceived effort, but I'm
Right.
going faster. Like, how is that possible? I mean, I know theoretically how it's possible, but you don't believe it until you see the numbers and you
Right.
see them right in
And
your
some people
face.
have that. It's important you said same perceived effort. So some people, they don't look down at their watch and they run for half the race and then look down and they're like, wait a second, I know my body. I'm supposed to be going this speed, and because of my perceived effort, and yet a certain number of seconds have been knocked off. So that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been doing this. I've been officially pro almost 20 years.
Wow.
So you can imagine, I've tried everything
Right.
that's legal or that I think should be legal. I'll
Right.
put it that way. And I'm also vegan, so I I've tried just about everything I can. In fact, I even did the veganism originally for performance enhancement.
And I'm vegan
And
as well, so that's maybe one reason why you got a bottle before other people.
yeah, I was really thankful for that. Yeah, I didn't expect that, so I was really thankful. And now that I tried it, now I'm even more thankful. I'm like over the moon to just to be able to have that high, even if it's just once in your life, to feel like, yeah, like wings. It gives you courage. Well,
Right.
anyway, so I was riding up the climb and the pre-ride thinking same perceived effort, but I looked down, I was going faster. My heart rate was a bit higher, not significantly higher, but a bit higher. Maybe that's because I'm already, fat adapted. But it was just amazing. And then once I hit the race, it was really funny.
How
I
was the start
shot.
time? Yeah, talk about the start time, the 1 minute leading up to the gun going off, because that's a very unique, you got some adrenaline that kind of gets mixed in there as well. How is that focus and excitement for starting the race?
Yeah, normally I'm pretty wired before I start, and I'm like jittery and just can't wait to go off the start. And my mind kind of tends to wander a little. I'm embarrassed to say that after 20 years, you'd think I'd get this right, but it was interesting. I really had full focus more than I ever. It wasn't. Yeah, it sounds weird to say, but it wasn't natural for my personality. Usually I'm chatting with everyone around me and I'm just like all over the place. But now it was like I focused on the line, on the start, waiting for the gun to sound. And I was like 100% there. And it was an interesting feeling, something I'd never experienced before in my 20 years.
Some people talk about compared to being in the zone, that zone feeling. Have you heard that before?
Well, I felt it for the first time on the start line. That's
Right.
not so common for me. I mean, World Cups, World Championships, I'm still scatterbrained and
Well,
and
great.
having a tough time just kind of like putting it all together mentally. So it really made me much more mentally aware and on the job, so to speak.
So then,
As
great. So then you started the race, and it's approximately a 50-minute race. So it's not a 2 or 3 hour a lot of people think that it only works with these, super long endurance races. So how was the progress in the race?
Well, from the gun, it was interesting. From the gun, I'm racing against men. So men are, and it's an uphill climb, power uphill climb. So you'd normally think that the woman would be shot out the back, come up last by the top of the climb. But my start was so good that I had people coming up to me after the race saying, "Wow, you shot off the start like a bullet. I'd never seen that before. I'd never seen a woman do that before against the men, and I've also never seen you do that before."
And you had done this race last year as well, right? So they had something to compare it to.
Yeah, last year I remember I was one of the last to get up the hill.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's different. Okay. And was this at altitude? Because that matters as well. It
No,
works
no,
more.
it's Belgium.
Okay, because it
Yeah.
works more in altitude, by the way. So it exponentially
Ah,
works more.
okay. Well, I should switch over to pro mountain biking again then. All the
Hey,
races.
if it gives you another 10 years of pro racing, sure, why not, right?
Why not? Yeah, it really does buy you time, I could tell. But what I thought was interesting was just the idea that it could actually give me something that I didn't have before. And you also have to remember the last time I did this race, I was maybe not 2 times more fit, but I was fit. I was primed for the season. And
You were
then
at your
this year,
peak, right? You're peaking at
yeah,
that time. Yeah.
yeah, last year I was. This year, not even close. I'm going to peak like close to November, December. I'm not even close to peaking. Right
Right.
now, I'm, like as they say, fat and out of shape. Yeah, I'm still like
It's all
whatever, under
relative.
10% fat. For me, I'm fat and out of shape because
Right.
I should be 70% body fat. But yeah, so that I thought was amazing because I never expected to be so fast off the line when I have, half the fitness that I should have at this time compared to the last time I raced.
Well,
And
sometimes
then,
we've actually heard that the upper limit of speed actually is hindered. I think I warned you about that. I said your 95 to 100% speed might not be there. Your power might not be there, but you might be able to sustain a 90 to 95% effort longer. But it seems like that didn't happen to you, so that's great.
no, I don't know what you put in that drink, but it seemed to be like rocket fuel for me. And it didn't quite even taste like rocket fuel, so that was also a pleasant surprise.
So how
Um,
did you have you had some cognitive tests because you've got to jump off the bike, jump over logs, find lines. How is your vision and how is it cognitively in the race?
well, I didn't crash. That's already a plus.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I also saw a lot of people flailing in certain sections, and I cleared it fine, no problem. I was even able to. What was really shocking was they had a sand section. There's always a sand section in Belgium, and it's like knee deep sand. We're not talking about like a few pieces of sand or, but like an actual sand section, big thick sand. And 3 of the laps, some guy T-boned it like right in front of me as we're going into the
Yeah.
sand section. And there's like lines, and you have to follow exactly in a line, or else your
Yeah.
bike turns. And on 3 of the laps, some guy just like T-boned it, missed his line because he couldn't stay in his line, and I had to, the very last second, try to somehow get around him. So you're talking about like precision work,
Quick
because
acting. Yeah, yeah.
to another line and you have to hit it just so your front wheel doesn't turn and you're not on the ground sitting alongside the guy. So and all 3 times, no problem. I even heard a few whoa
Nice.
as people were watching me, maneuver around the guys. It
And
was
also
really,
you're a Strava user, so and you said you got the Queen of the Mountain on Strava, which I'm embarrassed that I've never heard of until you, and you even made fun of me saying, "No, you know what that is, right?" And I felt really
I thought you were pulling my leg.
it's
maybe maybe you shouldn't admit that.
it's okay. It's not as big in the U.S. I think as it is, in Europe.
Oh, it's
So,
it's bigger in America than anywhere else.
okay, well,
Yes,
sorry.
I
Okay,
have.
I'll edit that out. Um,
Yeah, do.
but so how are your? Did you have Strava results from last year? to compare to, or?
Well, it's hard to say because all the top international women don't show up to this race.
Okay.
So that's why I race with the men, because if I did the women's race, then I would have won easily.
Right, but
So
couldn't you compare your times on the Strava versus your race last year in the same course?
I could, but when you're talking about cyclocross, it's really difficult because you're talking about if the terrain, if it's rained, if
Okay.
it didn't,
Okay.
if it changed the course a little bit, you know, yeah,
You
it's
did
not.
notice your beats per minute. I think you had done some numbers on that.
That was surprising. That just shocked me to bits. I was last time I did the race, I was in top form, so normally I can have a higher heart rate
Right.
average, and my heart rate is never high. At night it's super low, but it also never goes high at the top end. And last time I did the race, I was peak form, 166 beats per minute average, and this time I was also something like 165 beats per minute average. So I was actually surprised that I could hold such a high heart rate
How much
without
higher
having
was that than you were expecting? Like 6 to 8 beats higher?
156 was my expectation going into the race.
Okay. Great. That's 10 beats. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really shocking. I looked at it and I said, no, that's not possible. Yeah, I really was shocked. And
But how was the last 20 minutes where you might normally get lactic acid buildup? Or tell me, what do you normally feel in the last 15 minutes, and how did this feel?
um, it was really weird. The whole race, I kind of felt like I was like in a, not a daze, but I guess, yeah, I was in the zone. It was really strange. Like I'm like the worst mentally. Like in the middle of a race, and all my girlfriends who I race with are always laughing at me because I'm always like, hey, you know, and I'm always talking, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm on your left side, or you know, oh, this is fun. During the race, it could be a World Cup, whatever. I'm Little Miss Chatterbox, which is not good. I
Right.
shouldn't be admitting this, but that's something that I don't like about myself. But what this drink did for me, which is something I never experienced before, was I was in the zone from beginning to end, and it never stopped. It never let down. It never let up. I just continued to ride my hard pace from beginning to end. It wasn't like I was thinking, oh, I hope this race is over soon. You know, I hope it's the last lap because I'm dying. I
Right.
never had that feeling of I can't push anymore, or I can't go anymore, or stop this pain. It was, yeah, it gives you courage and it gives you wings.
Do you normally, well, that's another company's slogan, so we can't use that, the wings. Um, but
But
do
it
you
gives you,
normally, at the end of a race, do you ever have lactic acid buildup?
yeah, yeah. You know, that was another thing that I found interesting. After almost every single race, I can't say every single because my memory isn't that good, but after almost every single cyclocross race, if I move the wrong way, I have full cramps.
Okay.
Usually in my calves, my quads. If I'm trying to change and put my pants on, I will cramp up so badly and I'll be in pain for 3 days because the cramps are so insane. I never had that one moment where I felt a cramp even coming on. In fact, I could walk after the race,
Well,
like
what about
walk
the
normal.
last 10 minutes of the last 10 or 15 minutes of the race? Do you normally have the lactic acid buildup there where you're
Yeah,
dogged? And how did the last 15 minutes feel here?
it felt like the first 15 minutes.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. So the
Oh,
last 15 minutes felt like
same.
the first 15 minutes. That's huge.
Everything stayed the same for the 50 minutes that I raced. Everything from beginning to end. My energy level never wavered. It stayed high the whole time from beginning to end. I rode the same pace from beginning to end. I never, yeah, I never faded and I never bumped. I never had an idea. Like, I think if the race were a few more laps, I could have probably ridden the same exact pace for a few more laps even,
Wow.
which makes me think, shoot, I missed a golden opportunity. I probably could have ridden faster and harder.
Well,
And I was
that's a
not,
concern. If someone, the first time that they take it, the second time they try to mathematically, improve their performance, and there is a point where you will run out of energy. There, and that's what, trying it out in different settings and finding where your PR actually is. You haven't, fully discovered it yet until, you're bonked at the last, 5 seconds of a race, where you've just left absolutely everything out in the field. There is one person that cranked up their watts too much because they had such a great performance the first time on it that he ran out of energy. So, it is possible. Now he also was sick that morning and had the runs from taking too much potassium. So, who knows what the variables were. But,
Yeah.
well, thank you very much. What would you like to try, the next time? Any variable you might consider tweaking?
My experience so far, it's like, if it works, don't mess with it. So
Right.
I think I'm going to stay with the same routine. I did find it strange to take a couple of my hammer gels, like 1.5 hours before the race.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know that they're long lasting energy, and it's, it's like, I know that it's not quick sugar gels, but still it was just strange to do that 1.5 hours and to trust what you said, that I should take it 1.5 hours and it'll
Right.
still work.
Well, with sprinters, you got to take that might not be the case for like a marathon runner, but for a sprinter, you don't want to have, that active energy in your stomach and then going, straight out on the line. It can be too much to have any food in some people's system, a half an hour before racing. So that's what the concern there is for the sprinters. And we know that it lasts 2 hours. So the fact that you move it back an hour and then a 50-minute race, is perfect. And the good news I wanted to tell you was that we had tried the drink with non-keto adapted people just with the ketone ester, and it didn't work. And that's what we expected, because what happens is it suppresses your glucose so much that you're basically swapping fuels, a ketone with a glucose, and one might say, oh, ketones are 30% stronger, whatever. It doesn't work. It doesn't show a quantifiable gain. But then recently we had a bodybuilder that, he'd been keto for 3 years, and I just felt so bad making him drink a carb pack. I said, hey, let's just try it with you without the carbs. And if it doesn't work, then we'll just use that as more evidence that it doesn't work. Just manage your expectations. And it worked. It worked for him. It might be that he's able, because he's keto adapted, he's able to use the energy without, the wrong insulin spikes, whatnot. But he was extremely excited about it. Follow it on Twitter. He just posted a reviewed video of him drinking it, but then tomorrow he'll be posting his actual performance stats on it. So that would be one thing that you might want to try on a practice, which is, without the carbs, if that's more in tune with your vegan keto lifestyles, it might be something to try. So,
well, my hammer gels are all vegan, so that's already.
well, I meant keto, but the hammer gels aren't keto because it's a carb load. So if you wanted to try without carbs, or hey, if it isn't broken, just stay with the same thing, and that's stick with that.
Well, I'm curious to see how it goes in China this weekend. I leave in 2 days, so I'm curious to see how the first 2 UCI Category 1 races go against
Nice.
the big girls. And
Well,
to see how
for that one, I would definitely stick to the exact protocol that worked, and maybe later on, if we get you more, you can practice and see what happens by itself. Any last words on people that might be wondering, is this stuff real, and also having tried 50 other products, what final message you might have?
Actually, I wanted to tell you one more thing that I noticed that is very strange. Again, I've been doing this, I've been racing for over 20 years, pro almost 20 years. And after every single race, I'm always like very phlegmy. I have like an allergic reaction to racing, so to speak.
Okay.
And I'm always spitting and coughing, and from right after the race for the next day. And this is the first time, and I just noticed it yesterday, this is the first time that never happened. I have no idea how that worked, how KetoneAid was able to do that for me, but that's
I don't
the
know.
only thing that changed different in my routine. Yeah, that was like an extra perk. I really, really was not expecting that. I was also really, really not expecting to do as well as I did in the race. It's not on paper. There's no way that it could have been possible to ride that fast in that race with what preparation I've done beforehand.
Well, I'm excited to see what happens. Excited to see what happens in China.
I am too. And and regarding does this product work? Fuck yeah. I can't imagine anything that could even come close to matching this. But yeah, that's legal. I mean, there's probably things that are illegal,
Right.
I wouldn't even, but that goes against my vegan lifestyle. Heck, I don't even eat meat because I don't want, the steroids and everything else and antibiotics. But I really cannot imagine anything else that's on the market with all their big words and their big advertisements. I can't imagine any of them even touching
Right.
what Keto has done for me in my race. That's just not normal. Yeah. Like we
And
say
one
in
last question:
Dublin,
how is your next day recovery? Are you normally wobbling around sore, or how is that?
I went to the gym. So I
What do
guess
you normally do? Are you normally
and I rode my heavy fixed gear bike there. So yeah, that was no problem. No, normally I wouldn't go to the gym the day after the race. Normally I'd
that's
be
what I'm
on the
asking. Yeah, yeah. So
couch.
normally
Yes,
you'd be a
and I also
zombie.
this is also Eurobike week. So Eurobike, the biggest bike show in the world, starts tomorrow, and a few of my clients are exhibiting at Eurobike, which means that I also have to write brochures in a day. I have to write press kits in a day. I'm like really, really, really busy. And thankfully, with the ketone aid, the next day I was able to write. In fact, the next day I wrote a whole entire brochure from scratch in one day, a
Nice.
whole entire brochure. Yeah, that was amazing. I never expected to be so productive. That's not normal. So thank you for that. And
All right. Well,
yeah,
thank you very much. We'll wrap this up.
okay. Thanks so much for your
Thanks a
time, and
lot.
thanks for the product. You guys did a good thumbs up.
Thanks.
Bye.